So now we will talk about what is known as an intrinsic capacitance. Okay, so maybe I'll just switch over here. So this intrinsic capacitance is something like whenever we discuss about the capacitance, we in general, we talk about what is known as a small signal capacitance. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I'll talk about this. So we generally know like Q equals to CV. Okay. So this is not a small signal. It depends on the bias potential at which I have the amount of charge. But what I really mean by the small signal capacitance is something like small q. I think you might be much more familiar than me when you talk about any small signal models of your MOSFETs. Okay. So what I'm concerned is about this relation. Okay. Now, in a way, that the capacitance that we are really interested is in respect to the small signal capacitance. So the capacitance that I generally work is for the small signal, and due to which I could write this as something like dq by dV. Now, what it really means by this dq by dV is that let us take a simple MOS structure, okay, where I have a metal, and then this is my oxide, and this is my p-type. Okay, so throughout the discussion, I'll always assume that my semiconductor is a p-type. Okay, so now due to which, what happens is that we could have a small signal or a fixed bias voltage. Okay, now this voltage I could take it as VG. Okay, and this voltage that I have, which is a small signal over the bias voltage, as a small VGS. Okay, now let us assume that this sorry, I'll just use it as VG itself. Okay, because there is no source here, so due to which I'm just using the notation of small VG. Okay, now this VG can move around the constant voltage of capital VG. So you can have some sort of sinusoidal swing around this particular VG. And if I look for the magnitude of the small signal VG, it looks something like this, right? And this is the magnitude of the small signal VG. Okay, and that is swinging around the constant potential capital VG. Okay, so now what I would do is like we'll always assume that our small signal VG always has only the positive cycle. Okay, so we'll assume that it just the small positive cycle that I have. Okay, and it need not to be something like a kind of always a sinusoidal input. It can be even a kind of square wave or whatever it is. Okay, so for our current discussion, we assume that this small signal VG, maybe I have to use a different color, I guess. Okay, this small signal VG represents just a positive voltage. Okay, only the positive cycle is what I'm going to assume for the small VG. Okay, now having this, let us see what is the amount of charge that we end up having and how does it defines my capacitance. And this is what we will be discussing under the topic known as intrinsic capacitance. Now, what we do is that we will take each regions of operation of this MOS structure and then see what is the capacitance that it gives us. Okay, so first let us go with accumulation. Now, in order to make this accumulation, what type of bias voltage I need to apply across this VG? Is it a positive or a negative for me to have an accumulation in this particular structure?
Negative.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a negative voltage, right? Yeah. So what I try to do is that I'll just have some sort of negative voltage, and due to which I would try to deposit some sort of negative charges on the metal surface. And once I start depositing the negative charges on the metal, obviously the other side has to be filled with some sort of positive charges, which are free carriers. Okay, so these are again free carriers, and they will be exactly at the interface. Okay, and throughout the entire discussion, I'm just going to assume that our p-type semiconductor is something like a more or less similar to a kind of metal. Okay, so all of the free carriers that we have will be available only across its interface. Actually, there is one question that Vigneshwar has asked, why it's only the positive cycle is important. It is not exactly the positive cycle is important here. Just for our convenience, I have taken the positive cycle, nothing else. Okay, you can also work along the negative cycle as well. Okay. Now, this is what is known as an accumulation. I just want to look for its charge distribution. Okay. Now, what I can do is that I can just plot this graph that we have been plotting from the previous class. Okay. And as I said, the region that separates between the oxide and this p-type semiconductor, we have that at a value of x that is equal to 0. And the region that separates between the metal and the oxide, I have at x that is equal to minus TOX, which is nothing but the thickness of the oxide. Okay, so it is minus TOX here. Okay, just a kind of representation. Okay, yeah. So now let us see what are the type of charges that I have, so that this particular axis denotes the charge. Okay, now rather than writing in terms of charge distribution, I'll just write it as charge density. Okay, yeah. So which is nothing but the rho of x. Now, in this case, can there be any answer for this? What type of charge I would have between the metal and the oxide?
Negative charge.
Yeah, obviously. So we have negative charges over here on the accumulation. Okay, so due to which I will have some sort of magnitude. It depends on the magnitude of my capital VG. Clear? Now, on the other hand, over the interface between the oxide and the p-type, I have positive charges. So the amount of positive charges has to reflect the amount of charges that I have towards the metal oxide interface. Okay, so whatever the height that I have marked here, the same similar height would be reflected on this particular axis. Okay, because the magnitude of both these charges has to be equal. Clear? So now, to this, I'm just going to apply a small positive voltage. Okay, and we know that this voltage is basically a negative voltage, as I said. Okay, so let us go with a number, because the numbers always gives a better understanding rather than talking in terms of just a kind of expression. Clear? So in this case, I have biased this particular MOS structure at a voltage which is of minus 2 volt. Now over this minus 2 volt, I'm just going to apply a positive step input. And let us assume that this step input has a magnitude of maybe 0.5. Okay, it's always plus 0.5. Okay, now what is the effective voltage? Maybe, I don't know whether you people are comfortable with this notation. I generally, whenever I teach analog circuits, I generally write this as a kind of composite signal, which is basically composed of both DC plus the AC signal. So this is my AC signal, or the small signal, and this would be my DC signal. Okay, and I call this as a composite signal, where you could see that there is a capital V and then followed by a small letter G. So this is how I try to teach. I don't know about the way that you have learned. Okay, so maybe
The same way.
oh, thank you then. Yeah, so now what happens here is that I just want to evaluate the effective value of the VG currently when I have this small signal VG. Okay, now what has happened is that this effective voltage has been shifted to a value of minus 1.5 volt. Now what does it mean? This means that effectively I have reduced my potential across the gate. Okay, that is, instead of applying minus 2 volt, I've reduced the voltage from minus 2 volt to minus 1.5 volt. Now this in turn, how does it impact my charge distribution? Any idea? Will my charge will grow height, or it decreases?
Decreases.
Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah, so obviously,
Decreases.
yeah, true. Yeah, so obviously for the current value of VG, okay, maybe I'll use this color, what I've used. The charge has got reduced here, and for the same similar reason, the charge on the other side will also get reduced. Okay, so this is my new value that I have. Now, when I say that the capacitance is always measured as something like dq by dV, what we really mean is that it is the difference in that potential. Okay, so in this case, this dV is nothing but the small signal. So you could even write it as something like small letter q divided by small letter v. Okay, so in our condition, it is just Vg. Now how you can get this Vg? It is something like the difference in two conditions. Okay, I hope that you could be able to understand the way that I'm trying to write it. Okay, so this was my current voltage that I have applied, and this is the voltage when the Vg is equal to 0. Okay, this was at minus 2 volt, and this was at minus 1.5. That difference should give us the value of Vg. Clear? So now, what I'm supposed to do is that I have to calculate the amount of charge that I'm ending up. Okay. Now, in this case, the amount of charge is nothing but the difference in height between these two graphs. Okay. So this is supposed to give me the small q value. I hope that I'm not confusing you. Okay, so the present value of this q is nothing but it's the capital Q plus small q, and the previous value of, or the height of the previous q was just capital Q. Okay, and the difference between these two quantity supposed to give me the small q. Okay, so the Q value when I have this voltage is written something like this. Okay, and the Q value that I had only the capital VG, we had it as something like this. Okay, now when I take the difference, what happens is that it gives us this particular quantity. Okay, so I think I would show a better picture. I'm very poor in explaining things. Okay, so when I take the differences, maybe over here I have shown some sort of graph. Yeah. So this difference in the height is what we are measuring as a capacitance charge. Okay. So this is my dq. And this dq value appears on the positive side just because we are trying to subtract this value from this value. Okay. So it is always this value minus this value will give us a kind of positive quantity. Okay. The difference in the height, because even though we are talking about the charge which is in negative direction, when we take the difference, this becomes as a kind of positive charge. Okay. If you have any doubt in this particular regard, please let me know. Okay. The equation that I've written here would help you to understand this. Okay. So what I've done is that I have to pick the VG value, okay, which is the added version of the small signal minus the capital VG when there is only the DC condition alone. Okay. So that difference is what I'm taking. And in order to have this difference, we have to have the corresponding charges across each of these conditions. Okay, so now in this case, because we are applying some sort of positive step towards a negative voltage, this creates some sort of reduction in the charge. Okay, and we are taking that difference as a kind of Q factor here. Okay, and obviously this graph would help you to understand why this charge has been shifted from the negative axis to a positive axis. Okay, hope you are clear with this. In case if you have, okay, yes, sir, decreases, Sumant Kumar, okay. No, yeah, of course, when I apply a positive voltage to a positive step input to a negative voltage, the effective negative voltage gets reduced, and due to which the effective charge also gets reduced. And again, I always take the difference as something like rho prime minus the rho value, okay? So the charge is always taken as rho prime, this graph minus this graph, because the way at which I'm trying to visualize my small signal VG is basically, it is the capital VG plus the positive pulse that I have applied minus the bias voltage. Okay, so that is how I try to measure my small signal VG. So due to which I have to take the corresponding voltage charge distribution in order to measure the Q value as well. Okay, and when we take their differences, this Q factor is just the difference, right? So this Q would then appear as a small signal. Okay, so this is something like delta rho. And this is at 0, and this is my x. Okay, I'm talking about only the differences in my charge. Clear? So this difference goes as a kind of positive quantity. This difference appears something like a positive quantity, and even the same difference appears even here. So this will go as a kind of negative value. Okay. Any doubts?
Sir, that graph I understood, sir, but
Okay.
C is equal to dq by dv, sir. So
Yeah.
Q by Vg is okay, sir. So next step, Q plus Q minus Q, that step I didn't get, sir.
Okay, so effectively what happens is here is that we have reduced this particular charge. In the sense we already have a negative charges here. Okay, so whatever the Q that I have plugged here is already a negative value. Okay, and to this entire magnitude, when I look here, this is small compared to this Q that I had earlier. That is, this height that I had has a higher magnitude than this height. Okay, so what happens normally is that already, since the charges that I have here is basically a negative charge, this minus and minus would actually becomes a positive quantity. Okay, because we are working on the negative charges. So I have a larger Q minus this Q. Okay, I think I'm just ending up with something else. This has effectively reduced the magnitude, and we are measuring the difference across the. Okay, sorry, this cannot be. Yeah, it is Q minus this Q will give us this quantity. I think I've while explaining, I just took it as Q plus Q. Okay, it's basically Q this height minus this height, right? So it has to be like the height of this graph is supposed to be equal to Q minus Q. Okay, so due to which I have a negative sign, and when we try to bring this negative sign inside this becomes a kind of positive quantity. Okay, this is something like a mathematical ease, nothing else. If you have understood the previous graph thing, that is more than sufficient for us. Okay, so what it really means is that I'm just having some sort of Q which seems to be a kind of positive charge. Okay, it appears as a kind of positive charge just because we are looking at only at the differences. Okay, and this step input is always a positive cycle, and this is the reason why I have picked a kind of positive cycle when we discuss over here, because this height is a positive voltage. Okay, so I'm considering only the positive cycle here just for my ease. Okay, and when I pick the difference, even the difference appears as a kind of positive charge with respect to the gate. Okay, so this is all the discussions that I'm doing is all with respect to the gate potential VG. Okay, and due to which I'm looking at the charge across my gate, and that charge appears to me as a kind of positive magnitude. This is my small q. Okay, the height of this graph is just the small q that I have. Okay, on the other side, I have the same magnitude but of negative charges. Clear? Just because we are looking only at the differences in the charges across two different voltages. Okay. Yeah. So the next thing is obviously we have to talk about depletion region. Okay. For the MOS structure. So now for us to be in the depletion region, we could use a potential which is VG, which is greater than 0, and obviously it's supposed to be less than VT. Clear? So let us pick some sort of positive voltage, and let us assume that our VT is around 0.7. Okay, so this was our 0.7 volt, and let us pick a particular value of bias voltage for this. So for this, let us assume that let us fix our VG, which is the DC voltage, to be at 0.5. Okay, or 0.2. Okay, or 0.1 volt. Okay, it's just the DC voltage, and over this DC voltage, I'm just going to apply a small step input. Okay. And that step input is nothing but our small VG. Okay, so I have this 0.1 volt. Over this, I have a step input. Again, the magnitude need not be a huge factor here. Just for ease, I'm just putting it as a 0.5 as a magnitude of our small step input. Clear? Now, when I have this condition, let us try to analyze our circuit under two different conditions. This is the condition when VG is equal to 0. And I also want to analyze the charge distribution when VG has some sort of step input. Clear? So due to which I will have two graphs reflecting these conditions. Okay, and the axis that I'm working is on rho. There is the charge distribution. Yeah. So now let us work on this. Now for this, in this case, the effective value or the composite signal is basically just 0.1 volt. Whereas the composite voltage that I have over here is basically equals to 0.6 volt. Okay. Now, obviously, for 0.1 volt, you will have only very less amount of charge being deposited on this metal. Okay. And these charges are generally positive just because the effective gate potential that I have is a positive voltage. Okay. Due to which I would mark the charge, the amount of charge that I have across the metal oxide interface is just this as my magnitude. And now that I have increased the effective gate potential to a larger value of 0.6. Now, obviously, the charge on the metal will also rise or decrease.
Rise.
Yeah, it would be raised up. Okay. And obviously, on the other side, so whenever I'm trying to work on the metal oxide, obviously, an equal and opposite amount of charge would be reflected on the interface between the oxide and the p-type. Clear? So even here, the height of this negative charge will also rise up. Okay, but now is this representation is correct?
No, sir, it is wrong because
Why?
channel is delta.
Yeah, there is no channel. But what is formed actually when I try to fix my VG in the depletion region? What happens here?
Depletion layer.
Yeah, it leaves out only the negative ions. These are not free carriers. Okay, so whenever I have this depletion, what happens is that I will not have some sort of free carriers, but rather it's a depleted region. Okay, so for this, let us assume that when I have this plus 0.1 volt, I will have a depletion width of this layer. Okay, and when I have a VG that is equal to 0.6 volt, obviously, will the depletion layer width will remain the same, or will it extend? What would be a
Extend.
Increases, yeah, extended.
yeah, it would extend by a very large amount. Okay, so the width of this one has got increased, okay, towards the X. Now we know that the capacitance is always measured in terms of delta rho or delta Q. Okay, this is what we use for our capacitance calculation. So what I generally do is that I try to draw one more graph, which is marked as delta rho of X, with X that is equal to 0, and this is my thickness of the oxide. Yeah, so now let us try to compute. So as I said, this delta rho is something, but if I mark this as delta rho prime, sorry, this particular graph that I have on the right side as rho prime, and the graph that I have towards the left side as rho, then I can write this delta rho as just rho prime of X minus rho of X. Okay, so this is how I can represent this delta rho. Clear? So it is just the height difference. So when I try to subtract, what would be the quantity of this delta rho? Will it be a positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive.
Positive. Yeah, correct. So I would end up having the same similar positive setup that we had earlier. Okay, so this would be a positive voltage. Okay, the small q. And how about here? How will I draw this one? Now, when you take the difference, obviously the difference is, so this particular portion has to be subtracted from this portion, right? So I have to eliminate this particular portion, and I will left over with this particular charge. Okay, so this would be the charge of negative ions that makes the difference between both these quantities. Okay, so what I have is just the negative ions differences between this potential VG and this potential VG. Clear? So now that I have this kind of setup, now how would we measure the capacitance? I guess you will all be familiar with the capacitance is basically works, or not only works on the Q by V, but also there is also something known as a thickness of the oxide in terms of epsilon OX divided by the thickness of the oxide. Okay, so in this case, so we call this as a kind of oxide capacitance. Okay, so I could use the same similar expression over here, because this relation is as similar to what is known as epsilon OX divided by the thickness of the oxide. Okay, the only thing is that the charge appears here. Okay, so an equal increment in the voltage would create an equal increment in the charge. So the relation will hold in this case. But whereas in this case, the case is a bit different. Okay, if I compare the thickness in general, the dielectric medium is not just TOX, but rather it is extended from here to here, right? You don't have any charges between this entire region. You have separated the charges by a very far away. Okay, so what I have here is that these charges are being separated by a distance of TOX plus the depleted charges that I have. Okay, so so this particular segment. Okay, whereas in the previous case, the charges are generally separated away by just TOX. Okay, whereas in this case, when I take as a kind of small signal charges as delta rho, these small signal charges are being separated by a large distance. Okay, now due to which I cannot use this formulae in order to, I could write this something like this, but the capacitance that I have here is no more equal to COX. Okay, I could write it as C equivalent, and I could write it as something like this Q divided by this Vg. But effectively, what is happening is that there are two types of capacitance that are associated. Okay, one of the capacitance is because of the thickness of the oxide, and we call that as COX. Okay, and there is also one more capacitance that appears from here to here. Okay, and that capacitance depends on the amount of depleted region where I am not concerned about any charges here. Okay, so you have something like two type of capacitances that are in series. Okay, now how would you calculate an effective capacitance of these two series combination of capacitors? So you have a formula. I guess it is something like 1 upon COX plus 1 upon CV. Okay, so effectively what happens is that it's a kind of parallel combination as far as the capacitor is concerned. Okay, or the parallel formula that we use when I compare this structure with a kind of resistive network. Okay, the impedances that the expression of this one ends up would be as similar to the expression that I would have for a kind of resistive network which are in parallel. Okay, so by adopting the same notation, I've just written down this particular effective capacitance imposed by this entire structure. Any doubts?
So can you explain the formation of CBs?
The formation of CB is just because the dielectric medium is not just the thickness of the oxide. Even here, we are not concerned about any charges that are present here. So generally, the dielectric medium has been extended. Okay, so there is, so that is what I try to mean over here. Okay, in this case, the entire dielectric medium has got extended beyond the value of TOX over here. Okay, and since because we are taking the difference, we have to have a supportive negative ions for the positive charges that I have here. Okay, so they have been, these negative ions are separated far away from the value of X that is equal to 0. Okay, we have to take that distance as well into account in order to get this particular equation. And again, so if you want to write the CB, we know the expression for COX, right? COX is nothing but, I know that this medium, oxide medium, has a permittivity of epsilon OX. So I use that in order to write this expression, which is epsilon OX divided by TOX. But how about this guy? So let us assume some value, say for example, x1, okay? And that is the distance that it occupies. So I know the value of x1, but what about the medium that I'm working? What is the permittivity of the medium? What do we call that as? So this medium is basically a silicon, right? So I have to take the permittivity of my silicon in order to calculate its capacitance value, okay? So once you have both these capacitances generally appear, can be visualized something like you have two capacitances in series, and you can use this formula to get the effective value. Okay. Now, I will shortly show you a graph that reflects all of these phenomena. Okay. But as of now, we will just hold this content as it is, and I think I'm supposed to complete this inversion before my class ends. Okay. So during the inversion, let us try to quickly. So in the case of an inversion, the value of Vg would be much greater than the value of Vt. Okay, so what we do is that let us pick a value of Vg that is equal to plus 2 volt. Okay, now under each of these conditions, let us try to map our graphs. Okay, this is when Vg that is equal to 0, and the other one is when Vg, or I will write it as composite signal. Okay, so this is my composite signal, which is at plus 2 volt. And this is my composite signal, which is at 2.5 volt. Okay, so let me quickly graph this with rho prime, and over here as rho, and I again have to draw the other graph, which I will leave it to you. Okay. Yeah. So what happens is that I have a large gate voltage, and due to which I would try to deposit large amount of positive charge on this particular metal. Now what happens in turn?
Positive sign.
No, obviously there will be negative ions because we have repelled off a few of the positive charges away from the interface. Okay, so these would be like, there will be a kind of layer of ions. Okay, but between the layer of ions, like above and
Electrons.
yeah, so there will be electrons that will be attracted towards this particular interface, okay? And then there is a layer of depletion region, and then there comes a p-type, okay? So the type of material that I have across this is basically electrons, which are free carriers, okay? Or like an inverted region, clear? Yeah, so now let us try to map these things. Now, since because our focus was only on the gate potential and the gate charge, how will I plot this positive charges? Just by marking in the positive axis, I would get this as my height, okay? And how would I reflect the same in terms of charge distribution on the p-type semiconductor? This has to be reflected by an equal amount of charge, okay? How would I reflect them?
A spike first and then a depletion region.
Yeah, obviously. Okay, so this magnitude of positive charges has to be reflected by two quantities. One is the depleted charge, which will certainly reaches a maximum depleted region. Okay, and after then, any increment in the positive charge will be reflected as a kind of negative charges, which are free carriers. Okay, so if I compare the heights of both these things, or the amount of charges that I have in terms of negative ions and in terms of negative charges, those two charges has to get compromised by the positive charges that I have on the metal. Clear? So the magnitude of both these quantities supposed to be equal to the magnitude of my positive charge on the metal. Clear? So now that I have just increased the voltage of Vg further, so obviously the height of this graph supposed to be much higher than the previous graph. Okay. Now how will I draw this graph? Do I need to extend the depletion region, or
No,
do I need
sir.
to extend?
It remains constant.
Yeah, it will remain constant. Okay, the depletion region will remain constant. But what
Electron
would-
concentration increases.
Yeah, the electron concentration increases. Okay, so now when we take the difference, how would the graph would look like? Which is my delta of rho of x is what I want to map. Okay, now how does this would look? So I would take this one first minus this one, right? So when I do so, I would end up having some sort of positive spike. Okay, how about this side? Does this depleted ions get reflected here?
No, sir.
No, because the width of this depletion layer and the width of this depletion layer are same. When I subtract, the depletion layer will move out. Okay, so what appears as a difference is the difference in the free electrons. Okay, this height difference is what has to be reflected on this. Now when I see these charges are separated by a thickness which is again TOX. Okay, so in turn the capacitance that I would end is actually equal to COX itself, and that could be written as epsilon OX divided by the thickness of the oxide, or you can write it in terms of whatever the Q that you have and the corresponding delta VG that you the corresponding small signal voltage that you have. Okay, you can write it even in this way. Now let me quickly summarize what we have discussed till now. I know that the time is ticking, but I just want to complete this, the whole of this CV. And the CV that I'm trying to draw is only with respect to the MOS structure. In the next class, we will talk about MOSFET, where I will try to add the source and the drain alongside with my MOS structure. Okay. So we spoke about something known as minus VFB, right? So this is my VG. Okay, and we also spoke about flat band voltage. Okay, now if you look carefully, this flat band voltage actually separates a region which is known as the accumulation, and then we would be entering into the depletion region, and due to which the capacitance, this is my CG that I'm trying to plot, the capacitance will be stepping down because of the series combination of COX and the CB. Okay, due to them, and then the moment I reach the value of VT plus VT for a p-type semiconductor, okay, what happens is that the capacitance again shoots back to the value, and this value or the height of this axis is basically COX. Okay, and this height is nothing but the C equivalent that I have written. Okay, which is nothing but 1 upon COX plus 1 upon CB. Okay, and since because it's a kind of variable at each different bias condition, if you apply a step input, you would have a variable CB value. So it varies actually and decreases. Okay, and you would end up having something like this. Okay, so I'll stop here.